Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome to episode 71 of Climbing the Ladder. I'm your host, ChanManV, and we've got a special interview, WCS 2014, that we're going to be doing with our special guest this way, Phan, who is Blizzard Esports Senior Manager and the person who's kind of been the face and the forefront of WCS for the last half of the year, I think, of 2013. Welcome to the show, Kim.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
So how do you feel? It's announced, it's out there.
I'm excited. Yes. I'm very excited to finally share all of the details that we have for 2014. So really glad it's out there, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the feedback from everybody.
Well, WCS 2014 is really great, but I'm actually really happy just to have you on one of my shows finally. It's like so cool. So we're going to have a good time today, hopefully. And
thanks. I'm honored to be on your show.
Awesome. So let's just jump into it because I don't have you for very long. And a lot of the bullets, hopefully you guys are watching, got a chance to take a look at just the announcement, the blog, the FAQ. And this interview is going to be mostly about trying to dig into some of the details of each of the points, not really rehashing what's in it. So first thing we're going to talk about is the mission statement. So for 2013, you guys made it really clear that what you wanted at the end of the year at BlizzCon was the 16 best players fighting for the global championship. And that's what we had like two weeks ago, which was really great. And 2012 is more of an Olympic thing, Olympic style type of thing. So for 2014, what are we looking at this time?
Okay, so for 2014, I mentioned a little bit about this on our StarCraft panel at BlizzCon, but the goal is to really iterate on what we did this year. I mean, you already mentioned the global finals ended at BlizzCon. It was epic. We really enjoyed it, and it was a great end to, I think, the year. And so our mission is really to try and capture that. But the process in getting there along the way, we learned a lot, obviously. And so the mission is not to make another drastic change, not to invent something new or not to introduce something that is different from what we already have. The mission is to still try and find the best players in the world. Like, we still want to keep our global ranking system, but we want to improve it. And we also want to address a lot of the concerns and the feedback that the community had. And so that's really the focus of 2014 is how can we make what we set out to do this year better, and how can we improve upon it? So.
Okay, great. I know there was a lot of time and a lot of energy devoted to supporting just this current, WCS 2013 season. And I know there were a lot of changes internally at Blizzard too, so it was like really, really crazy for you guys. So when did you actually get a chance for you and your team actually sit down, come up with a plan to really make some of these changes and fixes for WCS 2014?
I don't really have like an exact date in mind. It obviously, like, WCS 2013 was announced in a rush. And as soon as it was announced, the season started. And so I would say for the first 3 months, the focus was, responding to the community, answering their questions, and just ensuring the success of 2013. So that was the main focus. But of course, along the way, I think we're learning every step of the way, how things are going. We're hearing the feedback from the community. And so that process in itself already started. And it already plays into the plans for the future. But in terms of when did we really dig into should we make any changes in 2014? What are the changes we're going to make? As soon as I joined the team, that was my ultimate focus for me. So I can speak on behalf of myself. The first thing I did was started reaching out to all the tournament partners in WCS, and also just the ones that were running third-party tournaments as well, and getting their feedback on things that they really thought went well and areas that they thought could be improved. And so those conversations started, as soon as I joined. And have continued to go on all the way up to this point.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I did notice when you did join the team was that I felt like you guys were more transparent, or you guys made more of an effort to be more public about where you guys were, and even just seeing you getting feedback and that sort of thing, except for this secret meeting that people were kind of talking about, that sort of thing. But that's really, really great.
What secret meeting?
What secret meeting,
If
guys?
It's a secret, I don't know about it.
Right. So the next big thing is the change to the schedule, which, one of the biggest things in my opinion. And there were two really, really huge things that you can kind of go into, you guys are watching. But the ones I wanted to focus on were the removal of the season finals and also reducing the broadcasts to 2 weekdays a week. Both of those, I think, make a huge difference in really freeing up the schedule and spacing things out. No, also, there's still going to be 3 seasons this year. I know there were some talks before about 4. So one of the big complaints about WCS 2013 was that a lot of people, the community, even event organizers, felt like WCS was, restricting, actually kind of restricting the ability to have events that didn't overlap with WCS. And these changes, I feel like, are kind of freeing that up. I think you're trying to address that. So did you guys see that as a negative impact to the overall, I guess, tournament ecosystem? Is that, there were less events this year because of WCS?
Well, we definitely received feedback on that. And so that's why it's one of the biggest changes that we wanted to make. It was never our intention at all. And I think there was a lot of confusion around it over like policies and rules. And so this is also something we wanted to make more clear. There's a lot of people that didn't know whether or not they could broadcast during WCS, especially if there's, qualifiers in Challenger League. So a lot of assumptions were made that if WCS is running, no one else could be running. And so I think those are some of the things that we want to clear up. And a lot of it was just really hard to do because of when the schedule was announced. And so people didn't really have an opportunity to plan. So that's another approach that we wanted to take this year, which is why when we say partners are going to broadcast 2 days a week, it's probably going to be 2 to 3 days. I mean, we're still finalizing the schedule now, but the idea is to actually get that schedule out in front of everybody as soon as possible so that events can start organizing around it. And to clarify more, during the WCS broadcast week, if there is a partner that wants to broadcast or a tournament or a community member that wants to stream the same time, there is nothing that Blizzard's going to do to prevent that. And there is no rules in place that say you can't do that. So hopefully by just limiting to 2 times a week in each region, that will free it up so that you and whoever else in the community can plan and make sure that when it happens. And it's your choice whether or not you want to stream during that time or not.
You mentioned the schedule and trying to come up with the schedule, I guess, earlier than this past season. Give us a little details on that, because obviously scheduling, even just amongst the partners within WCS, not even to mention like everybody else, I think was somewhat of an issue this year. So is it a partner-to-partner type of thing, or will Blizzard be a big part in helping to avoid all these overlaps and that sort of thing?
Well, I definitely feel like we're the glue to it all, right? So, and it's something that we have been working with the partners on. And I think it's in the best interest for all of us to be aligned in that area. And so that was a big topic that we wanted to make sure everyone felt comfortable and agreed upon. And so, the idea is to, for certain, for season 1, we do want to announce the schedule out next month. Like I think we mentioned that in one of the Q&A. So by December, you should know what your season 1 schedule is going to look like.
That's great.
If we can get it out even sooner for the rest of the year, obviously we would love to. But the goal is to get it out there way in advance. And so next month you'll hear more details about when the qualifiers will start. When the season finals for each region would actually take place. And so So that means yes, we've already kind of worked and agreed with the partners to agree on those days.
Oh, that's awesome. That's definitely great. So when it comes to smaller events, and you mentioned in the announcement that you guys were going to be helping to support or promote and that sort of thing with more non-WCS organizations and that sort of thing. Can you give us some details as to what are some of the things you'll do for smaller events like, let's just say Home Story Cup, Shoutcraft, even Lone Star Clashes and that sort of thing?
Well, we definitely want to make it more clear that they're a part of the WCS system if they're, fulfilling the guidelines of a WCS global event. I mean, we're not referring them to non-WCS events or non-WCS partners. If it's an event that meets the new criteria that we have set out and they're giving WCS points, we want to be referring to them as WCS global events. Yeah. And so in terms of support, we've created 3 different categories now to help allow more tournaments to be a part of the system. So, the smaller tournaments can now be a part of WCS. We've also increased the points overall that we distribute to, we did a lot of rebalancing of our points as well. And we really want them to take part of the entire ranking system. And, we'll continue to support them through social media and so forth like that. So the Home Story Cups and even more tournaments, I hope, will take part into WCS.
Okay. Great. You mentioned earlier that folks like me, there's just having it 2 days a week is actually great, and I totally love that. Okay, because myself and other content producers, I know we've talked, and it's hard. It was really, really hard finding that little gap between Europe and America each of those days.
Right.
So it's really, really cool. But I did want to ask you, why'd you choose 2 days versus 3 days? Because if it was for events generally don't start until Thursday or Friday, right? So I feel like it might have been a choice because of folks, community folks like us who are doing content. Did that play a big role or not?
So I think the reason why it ended up becoming, 3 to 4 days throughout the week this year had a lot to do with just the format style and the condensed schedule. Yeah. So in order to play out all the matches and in order to basically maintain the schedule that we had for every season, it had to be stacked that much. Like you had to broadcast 4 days a week just to cover all of the matches and in order to complete in time before you start the next season. Mm-hmm. So again, that had to do with the schedule just being too tight, which is why we wanted to improve that. And then the other idea as well is, I think the original intention was to broadcast high-level StarCraft matches in your prime time. So it's, kind of like very similar to traditional sports. When you're watching, you want to go home and you want to, every time you turn on the TV or you're tuning online, you're getting to see like some great StarCraft matches that are on that you can watch. Yeah. But yeah, the feedback that we got from the community is it's too much because they're watching America, they're watching Europe, they're watching Korea, they're watching everything. And so there's just a lot of content to consume. And so that played a lot into why we wanted to reduce down to 2 days. And I did want to clarify that when we're talking about 2 days, it's really just 2 days for each region, right? So it's not like US, Europe, and Korea are all broadcasting on the same 2 days. It could be, and this is for an example, we should really wait until the schedule is announced later this month. But for example, America may choose to always broadcast on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so that that if you want to follow WCS America, that you're gonna need to tune in on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And maybe Europe is going to do Tuesday and Thursdays. But ideally, we'll probably stick between the Tuesday-Thursday frame so that the weekend events can handle, Friday and then the travel returning on Monday and so forth. So you'll see like the dates picked between there. And right now it says 2 days. It may be 2 to 3 days, I think, depending on whether or not the partners choose to cover or broadcast all of their qualifiers or challenger matches. Yeah. Right now the focus is to broadcast Premier, but hey, if you have an exciting match and challenger that you want to broadcast and maybe the best time to do it is on a Monday, maybe that week they may, add an extra day to cover that match.
Yeah.
But the 2 days that we're talking about is strictly for Premier.
So a little bit of business talk. When it came to like the content, I always kind of looked at you guys broadcasting just a lot of the weekdays as a way to create a very consistent amount of, the matches and the content, therefore generating consistent ad revenue and therefore maybe enticing sponsors for WCS. Was that actually something to take into consideration? And secondly, how has maybe that been affected by the decision to just really support more events?
Now, it might have played a part of it. I don't think it plays a huge part of it into the decision at all. So, it pretty much like what I told you is really the main reasons is kind of freeing up that schedule, making it more consistent and easy for people to know when to tune in. And it was definitely less about the former of what you mentioned.
Great. Okay, let's move on to Korea. Lots of changes in WCS Korea. I'll start off with the partners. Basically, OGN has taken a step back, and it looks like GOM.TV is going to be the sole WCS partner. I mean, I know OGN is still going to be a Blizzard partner. How did that come about, and why GOM.TV over OGN?
So I think everyone kind of gave the feedback and agreed that having both partners operating one league was confusing, especially when it switched from one partner to another between GOM and OGN, and so it was hard for people to follow. So I think we heard that feedback and we felt like that was something that we wanted to address. In terms of like how that was decided, that was a conversation that we all had together. So it wasn't like any one person's or one organization's decision. I think it was a conversation that we all kind of had to figure out what would be best. And I think at the end of the day, GOM had more flexibility in their schedule. Because OGN, broadcasts in Korea television. And so ultimately, I think the decision was just made, our collaborative decision was just made that it would be best for GOM to do it.
All right. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be happy. GSL's back, Code As Code A, there are a lot of people are going to love that.
Yeah.
So let's talk prize money. So
Okay.
this prize money is the first time that we're actually seeing an imbalance between all the regions.
Yeah. Hmm.
And you mentioned that Korea wanted to have this top heavy structure.
Right.
I mean, I kind of, and for top heavy, it means basically first place pretty much gets the difference between the region. I mean, it's like 2.5 times the first place for the other region. So most of the difference is going to the winner. I mean, so I as a community member, I mean, I feel like that's kind of strange from the standpoint of supporting more. Like we're trying to support the highest level play in Korea, and I totally get why you would raise the prize money there. But the fact that it's not being distributed at all, just like a lot of it's just going to one person, the winner.
Right.
How do you feel about that? I mean, was it purely GOM's decision to do this, or did you have any kind of input in this?
We always have input in all the decisions that are made, and one of the decisions that we did make was to increase the overall prize pool for Korea. We do want to recognize that the
Yeah.
competition in Korea is a lot harder. So if you look at the overall prize pool, Korea did see an increase. Now, when it went down to like how and we should distribute that prize money and where that went, we relied on GOM as well as a lot of the stakeholders. Just as I mentioned to you that we always reach out to community members, esports figures, teams, players, so forth. That same thing happened over in Korea, where it seems like the stakeholders there all desired a very top-heavy prize pool, and that was also very desired by GOM. And so we kind of just went with what was seemed to be the consensus there.
Okay. Yeah, that was just it was surprising again because it's just going to one person. Even if second and third place were
Right.
a little bit higher, I could totally get that. But
Right.
their decision.
I will say the overall prize pool across the entire league was kind of increased.
Increased, yeah.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, in terms of like first place having it, that was something that GOM desired, and I think it'll definitely bring a lot of excitement and attention there.
Yeah, yeah. It's a huge pool, definitely a huge prize. Okay, anything else with Korea? I think that's going to be it for WCS Korea.
Okay.
So the big talk, just the big subject, the big elephant in the room is obviously region locking. I mean, that's
Okay.
like the thing I think the community has been kind of going back and forth, just two factions.
Right.
And the change involving the reserve slots for residents in the qualifiers, I think is really great and really a step towards that region locking concept. But it's not completely region lock, which a lot of people in the community were really looking forward to. They wanted NA to only be NA players, and just having it set up that way. So my question to you is, do you think this is the beginning of changes, like region locking type of changes, and you're kind of in a wait and see, or do you think the change that you've made for 2014 will be the extent of region locking because you want to still uphold that mission statement, which is that you want the best players still there at the end?
I think that at the end of the day, it's probably too early to say in terms of like, whether or not to talk about changes in the future, right? Because Yuri saw us go through this year and we learned a lot from this year and we made changes based on that. And so I think we really want to see how the changes play out in 2014 before we even talk too far in the future in those respects. So I can't say if that's the last of the region locking changes at all. It definitely is something that we feel had to be done based on the feedback that was given. But yeah, as it relates to our mission for 2014, we still want to try and find the best players in the world. And I think really at the end of the day, the name of the WCS regions was to indicate where those players actually played. So when you're talking about WCS America and Europe, the name was intended to imply that that is the server that you play on, that is where you have to fly to in studio, and that the time zone or the broadcast times was during that time. And so in terms of like, now that there are, I guess that the feedback that we received that we need to address the region a little bit more, we chose to do a partial region lock. And we're really excited to see how this works out. And if changes or adjustments need to be made in the future, we'll definitely consider it for sure.
Well, you bring up a good thing to talk about there, which is your intentions weren't necessarily based on like really location more so than server and you having to play on that server, I guess you could say. Has there been any consideration just changing the names so that there are no physical location affiliations to it?
But there is. So there is a physical affiliation when you're talking about where it's broadcasted, right?
Okay,
so
sure.
when it's time to do Premier League and you're going in studio, the studio is located in America. And throughout the season, the matches are all being broadcasted during American friendly time zones. And so that is what that name reflects. And so in terms of changing the name, I'm not quite sure what we would change it to. I guess, any kind of suggestions would be appreciated. But I think in those terms, no, there is no plans to change the names, just
Okay.
to reflect where players live.
Yeah. Just kind of continue to go with more of a WCS America focused discussion. SEA, China, Taiwan, they were basically added to WCS America. And WCS America at this point is it's kind of like a melting pot, honestly. And outside of the lag, I can totally understand why America was chosen over the others. Are there any other key reasons why like these orphan regions were placed in WCS America?
I think a lot of it is a reaction to player behavior. So, we're just seeing how everything played out. Players from those regions chose to play in America. Maybe it is because of the lag reasons that you mentioned, but that's where we start seeing players choosing to play and choosing to compete in. And of course, the feedback that we received was, how can we better support those players? And so that is one of the steps that we took in order to do that, was by acknowledging that, yes, this is the region that if they wanted to play and compete in WCS, is the region we're going to make the home for them.
Okay,
But yeah. So if player behavior changes and players start doing something different, then we will also adjust to that.
Do you see, with China growing so fast, do you actually see a WCS, SEA region maybe starting in 2015?
I think that's also too early to say. It's we just announced 2014.
Oh, I know.
So
I know. I'm just,
so yeah, because to be honest with you, I don't have anything to share in terms of that. We have heard that feedback as well as, but I think we're going to wait and see how well 2014 does, and also how well these other regions are doing now that they're a part of WCS America.
Yeah.
And I think those are things that we will consider for 2015. But yeah, it's way too early to say.
Okay, no problem. Ladder requirement. I noticed that's one of the things, and there are a couple ladder spots actually associated with the qualifier.
Right.
Yeah, so given how many players practice on the ladder, and you guys wanted to increase the quality of the region, was there any consideration taken into having the Challenger and Premier participants having to play on the ladder,
Right.
and be ranked at a certain amount?
Definitely. We've considered a lot. Like, there's been a lot of considerations made. But at the end of the day, the decisions that we made, that we thought was best, and that we kind of found agreement with everyone else and our partners and so forth, are the ones that have actually implemented into this coming year in 2014. So you're seeing what came out, like the ideas that we had that came out that were the best. But yeah, we discussed a lot. Okay.
All right, so Phan's out
Yay.
here. We're
Did you
talking about
collect all of your cards? Oh, I saw your parting card. Yeah.
So, will there be any more collectibles and WCS affiliated memorabilia for fans to trade and interact with?
hmm we are so excited that everyone loved them and it was so well received. And so I think that's really cool. And so we'll be looking into doing more things like that in the future. I don't think we have anything planned like right now. My focus has been 2014.
Of course,
But
of
no,
course.
it was really well received. So I think we want to do more things like that.
Okay, very cool, very cool. So we're gonna what? Yeah, so we're gonna kind of go into the end of the interview here,
Okay.
and wait, just hold on one second here. Sounds kind of weird. My mic's not working right. I don't know what's going on here, but yeah. So
That's okay.
rounding out the interviews, and just kind of wanted to finish off with just a question with WCS
I
2013? Was
think
it a success?
how it ended definitely was a success. We were very pleased with WCS Global Finals at BlizzCon. We thought it was amazing, and but I think obviously what it took to get there, I think needed improvement, and we recognize that. And so, in terms of that, like, do I feel like the whole year was successful? It definitely needed improvements on it. But how it ended, we couldn't be happier. And I think that it was a very exciting BlizzCon, and I hope everyone thought the same.
Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, how happy are you with WCS 2014 changes?
I'm happy. I don't know I can give you a rating. I'm happy. I'm happy and I'm excited because I think we were able to hit a lot of the key points that we were hearing. I mean, we've been talking about these changes for a long time, for months now, and we've been getting a lot of feedback on it and we've been iterating on it. And the response so far has been positive, overall positive. So I think that that makes me happy to hear. But that our work isn't over. It doesn't end there. We still have to start the year. We have to execute it, and we really want to make sure we're responding, we're upfront, we're giving you all the answers and questions that you guys have, which I'll do today. But yeah, I think that overall I'm happy. It's really subjective to give a scoring on that, but I guess we'll wait and see.
Do you feel like you made all the changes that you deemed necessary? I mean, were there any things that were left on the table that you're gonna have to address for in 2015?
Definitely, there are on the table only because we've evaluated a lot and we had to decide and choose which ones we wanted to put in and which ones, we and our partners and everyone else felt was best. So there are possible changes on the table, but to answer your question on whether or not we must address them, I don't know that. I think we're going to have to wait and see how the changes that we did implement for 2014 will work out. And then, again, we'll adapt and we'll iterate on that. So, because we discussed so many things.
Yeah, I can imagine. Jeez.
And so at least those conversations didn't go wasted. They're still there and they're still considerations. And so I'm putting them in my pocket.
Yeah, that's right. Put them in your pocket. All right, well, that's going to be it for just the questions that we have today. Is there anything you want to say to the viewers and the community?
I want to say thank you so much to the StarCraft community. We love you guys a lot at Blizzard, and we are so happy for the support and the engagement that we've received from you guys. And thank you so much for all of the feedback that you've given on WCS and helping us level up WCS for 2014. I really look forward to hearing what you guys think about the new changes, and I want you guys to continue giving us your feedback and your opinions and just overall what you think about it, because we're doing this for you guys.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, yeah, I'm really happy with a lot of the changes that have been made for 2014, and really looking forward to seeing Yeah. Looking forward to just seeing how WCS 2014 really pans out. Really like the changes. And, yeah, can't wait to see it. My mic, I think, is just freaking out here, guys. So I think we're going to have to end it soon. But Kim, thanks for coming on the show, and it's a real pleasure. And hopefully we'll get a chance to do it again sometime, of course.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. Anyways, that's going to be it for the show, guys. You can check out the VODs on YouTube as usual. But for Kim, Phan, ChanManV, we'll see you next time.